Friends, I am your SSC teacher, Mrs. Manju Sharma, and today we are going to start our new chapter, Working of Institution of Class 9th in Civics. As we know, that democracy is not just about people electing their rulers. In a democracy, the rulers have to follow some rules and procedures. They have to work with and within institution. And this chapter, we will try to know about the working of such institution in democracy. And we also try to understand this by looking at the manner in which better decisions are taken and implemented in our country. So we will start our chapter with a government order. On August 13, 1990, the Government of India issued an order. It was called an Office Memorandum. Like all government orders, it had a number and is known by that OM number 36012/31/90. EST SCT dated 3/8/1990. The Joint Secretary on officer in the Department of Personnel and Training in the Ministry of Personnel, Public Grievances, Pensions signed the order. It was quite short, barely one page. This order announced a major policy decision. It said that 27% of the vacancies in civil posts and services under the Government of India are reserved for socially and educationally backward classes, SEBC. SEBC is another name for all those people who belong to caste and that are considered backward by the government. Now we will know who are the decision makers. Such a big decision could not have been taken by the person who signed the document. The officer was merely implementing the instructions given by the Ministers of Personnel, Public Grievances and Pension, of which the department was part. So we will know how this decision was made. First, President is the head of the state and is the highest formal authority in the country. Second, Prime Minister is the head of the government. And third, Parliament consists of the President and two houses, Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Now we will know how this office memorandum was the culmination of a long chain of the events. The Government of India had appointed the second Backward Classes Commission in 1979. It was headed by B.P. Mandal. Hence it was popularly called the Mandal Commission. For several years, many parliamentaries and parties kept demanding the implementation of the Commission's recommendation. Then came the Lok Sabha election of 1989 and its election manifesto. The Janata Dal promised that if voted to power, it would implement the Mandal Commission. And the leader VP Singh became the Prime Minister. Several developments took place after that. Now, the question is, why do we need for political institutions? We have seen one example how the government works governing a country involves various such activities. For example, the government is responsible for the ensuring security to the citizens and providing facilities for education and health to all. It collects taxes and spends the money thus raised and administration, defense and development programs. Now we saw several such institutions at work. First, the Prime Minister and the Cabinet are institutions that take all important policy decisions. Second, the civil servants working together are responsible for taking steps to implement the minister's decision. And last, the Supreme Court is an institution where disputes between citizens and the government are finally settled. Now we will know about what is Parliament. Let us go back to the story and see whether Parliament figures in it. Let us recall the points made earlier by completing the following sentences. The report of the Mandal Commission was discussed in Parliament. The President of India mentioned this in his speech in Parliament and the Prime Minister made a decision in the Parliament. Now we can see that the decision was not directly taken in the Parliament, but parliamentary discussion on the report influenced and shaped the decision of the government. Now the question is, why do we need a Parliament? In all democracies, an assembly of elected representatives exercise supreme political authority on behalf of the people. In India, such a national assembly of elected representatives is called Parliament. It exercises political authority on the behalf of the people in many ways. First is, Parliament is the final authority for making laws in any country. Parliament all over the world exercise some control over those who run the government. Parliaments control all the money that government have, and Parliament is the highest forum of discussion and debate on public issues and national policy in any country. Now, we will know about the two houses of parliament. In our country, the parliament consists of two houses. The two houses are known as the Council of State, Rajya Sabha, and the Houses of the People, Lok Sabha. The President of India is a part of parliament, although she is not a member of either house. That's why all laws made in the houses come into force only after they receive the assent of the president. Now we will know about the political executives. At different level of any government, we find functionaries who take day-to-day decisions but do not exercise supreme power on behalf of the people. All those functionaries are collectively known as the executive. Now, there are two executives, political and permanent executives. In a democratic country, two categories make the executive. One that is elected by the people for a specific period is called the political executive, and second category, people are appointed on a long-term basis. This is called the permanent executive. Now, Prime Minister and Council of Ministers. Prime Minister is the most important political institution in the country, yet there is no direct election to the post of the Prime Minister. But the President cannot appoint anyone she likes. The President appoints the leader of the majority party or the coalition of parties that commands a majority in the Lok Sabha. Now we will know the work of Prime Minister. Cabinet ministers are usually top level leaders of the ruling party. Ministers of state with independent charges are usually in charge of smaller ministries, and ministers of state are attached to and required to assist the cabinet ministers. Now we will know the power of Prime Minister. The Constitution does not say very much about the power of the Prime Minister or their relationship with each other, but as head of the government, the Prime Minister has wide ranges power. He chairs cabinet meetings. He coordinates the work of different departments. His decisions are final in case disagreement arise between departments. He exercises general supervision of different ministers. All ministers work under his leadership. Now we will know about the President. While the Prime Minister is head of the government, the President is the head of the state. In our political system, the head of the state exercises only nominal power. The President of India is like the Queen of Britain, whose functions are to be a large extent ceremonial. The President supervises the overall functioning of all the political institutions. Now we will know about the judiciary. One final time to the story of office memorandum that we started with. This time let us not recall the story, but imagine how different the story could have been. Remember, the story came to satisfactory and because the Supreme Court gave a verdict that was accepted by everyone. So the work of judiciary are very important. If there was nothing like a Supreme Court in the country, what would happen? So judiciary is very important and considered essential for democracies. He take up any dispute between citizens of the country, between citizens and government, between two or more states government, and between government at the union at state level. So now we are able to know about all the working institution of democracy and the importance and their function, and that and this democratic institutions are very important for our country. So students, goodbye.